Hello, guys. This is Bartholomew Orr. Join me on this journey as we chronicle the stories and lifestyle of some of the world's most innovative people who will share how their faith, wisdom, and direction help them to change lives and make a difference in these unprecedented times. It is my prayer that these out-of-the-box conversations with extraordinary people will help us to think differently about faith and actually doing the unthinkable. And so I'm grateful today because I get a chance to talk with the award-winning journalist herself and founder of Util and CEO Kontji Anthony. Welcome, Kontji.
Thank you so much for being here. I did want to tell you how honored I am because, I've been watching you stream online. And so I just feel like you were such a lifeline for everybody at the start of the pandemic and through the pandemic by being an early adopter of this technology to stream. And then now you're doing this. So you're just on the cutting edge.
Well, I must confess, one of the things about just streaming in the midst of the pandemic, Brown was kind of criticized because before the pandemic, we would stream all of our services. And so, the mindset was, you know what, you need people in the church, in the building, stop streaming, let them come but a few years ago, we started digital discipleship, and we wanted to make everything just as accessible online and right from their phone as it was for those that are coming in. So we had already started that a couple of years, and so it was wonderful in the pandemic to just keep it going. And I think probably the only other unique thing for Brown, and I appreciate all of y'all being so faithful, Brown, was we actually came in and did every service live. So in the midst of the pandemic, what folks was watching, it was not pre-recorded, it was and sometimes it was just a skeleton crew. I mean, because in the early days, what was it, like 10, limited to 10?
Right.
Right. So, but God got us through it. So we're so grateful and appreciate all that you have meant to our community and our area. So I feel like I get a chance to ask the news person all of the questions and talk to you. And so thank you for coming in and sharing with us. And my goodness, tell me a little bit about yourself, because like so many other people, we probably don't know who is Kontji Anthony.
Okay, well, I am from New Rochelle, New York, and my mother, as a matter of fact, is from Lorman, Mississippi. She was a majorette at Alcorn State.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Wow. I got a full ride to Alcorn University, and I ended up not taking it, instead going to Christian Brothers in Memphis. But Alcorn was one of those colleges that when I was graduating, gave me a full ride.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, and it's a pretty incredible area. And my grandfather, Reverend E.E. Eugene Spencer, had churches down there.
Oh,
and
wow.
So she played the organ
in
the church,
here.
And we had an organ in our house, and she would be like, it was the double-tiered organ with the foot pedals. Yeah.
Oh, Hammond B3s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So was it a Baptist church?
Southern Baptist Church. Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
So how did your mom get from Lorman up to New Rochelle, New York? And by the way, where is New Rochelle, New York?
So if it's halfway between the Connecticut state line and the city of Manhattan. So it's a suburb. It's like there are lakes, bunnies, and streams. People don't think about that, New York, but it's only a small part of New York that's like the concrete jungle. But everything else is green, and
Wow.
So yeah.
So your mom, how did she?
Okay, so the migration to Chicago. Mm-hmm. All the people, everyone went to Chicago. So she went to Chicago it was supposed to just be a short while, the summer. And it ends up where she's like, well, I want to work. And she gets a job because she could type 155 words a minute. And Jet Magazine hired her. Well, my father was was fixing the computers. And so they saw each other, met at Jet.
The old Jet magazine.
Yes,
Look,
yes.
everybody got Jet magazine. Yes. That was the magazine of the day.
Of choice, yes.
Okay. So you got a chance to grow up in New York.
Yes.
Well, how did you make your way back down south?
Well, in TV news, you tend to hop from place to place. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. You go to a small market to make your mistakes, and then so that you can get hired to the big market. So I was going to come back to New York. I was going to take over New York. And I started behind the scenes in New York. I never wanted to be on TV, but my coworkers,
Really?
yeah, they forced me to put a reel together. And I did it. And then one of them sent it to an Iowa news director. So I went to Iowa, and I was a one-woman band. I carried 60 pounds of equipment. I would shoot all my own stuff, shoot my stand-ups, and then I hopped every time zone except Mountain Time, and then Memphis called, and so I came.
Wow. Well, we are excited to have you. And what has been, because I guess you were still coming to the South anyway, probably visiting grandparents in Mississippi. How were those days?
Well, I was pretty terrified of the cows because he had a farm. He was a farmer, and one of the black farmers, and so pasture and farmer. So I loved visiting. Aunt Bebe had those jars full of the really sweet peaches. It's like, and everyone could cook. It was great.
Oh my goodness!
I have a recipe book, the Watts Family
Really?
Recipe Book. Yes.
That y'all have handed down? Mm-hmm. Now, I must confess, because my Aunt Irma, she made the best banana pudding in the world. My mama is a coconut cake lady.
Oh, okay.
She does all those cooking, but Irma, banana pudding. Well, my wife knew how much I loved Irma's banana pudding. Before Irma passed away, she was like, okay, Irma, I want to learn this so I can make it for my husband. She wouldn't, she told her what to do, and she was showing it. We actually had a camera. It wasn't on the phone back then. But we were going to video her making it, and wouldn't you know it, she slipped some stuff in secretly. And we were like, wait a minute, like, what did you do?
I see you.
So you got the real recipe book.
Yes.
Okay. So are you a cook?
No, I want to be, but I'm just too busy. Like, it's something that I think you have to put your love into. So I don't want to do it halfway when I'm doing it. But when I do commit, I can. Yeah.
That's all right. Okay, so Kontji Anthony, news anchor woman, Channel 5. You've been here how long now?
Almost 18 years. I was supposed to be here 2 years. I was
wow.
2 years. And then the Mid-South just got under my skin in the best way. I was just like, I can't leave. This is where I feel like myself.
So tell me about your family.
Okay, so my mother is from Mississippi. My father is from an island called Nevis. It's a British Virgin Island.
Okay.
In the Lower Antilles, past Cuba, if you keep going.
Yeah.
And I'm a dual citizen. I'm British and American because my father. But it's interesting. We have a civil rights background where my grandfather fought to educate African Americans. That was his. He believed that education was the way.
Right.
And then my grandfather founded the first union for the island. It's the sister islands. It's Nevis and St. Kitts. Okay. And so what happened there was, they had sugarcane fields, so for rum. And so the workers, much like the sanitation workers here, were not treated well. So he fought the British to give them rights and created a labor union to help them.
Wow. I had the opportunity this year of preaching during for the British Virgin Islands for their emancipation celebration that at the end of July, marking that whole proclamation, emancipation. And so it was our first time actually traveling to the British Virgin Islands and to hear the great history of, those islands. And wow.
Columbus made his way through. There is a Black diaspora, and, we have the same story. I love traveling. And so, it's interesting to hear just how it played out in different places.
Wow. Well, my goodness. And with everything that is happening now, even with the British Virgin Island, because many people don't realize, even those, I guess, a lot of the territories that gained their independence from Britain were still, I guess, technically territories. And with the passing of the Queen, and you have so much now going on with everyone wanting to pretty much, I guess, gain full independence, autonomy. So these are still interesting times
Very.
that we live in. Well, talking about faith, grandfather, a preacher. Tell me about your faith journey.
Oh boy. Well, it started in, of course, Baptist church, and then my mother, of course, playing the organ, us singing songs. And I still, to this day, I'm Baptist. However, I went to Catholic school. So, I got to just see the differences. Just to see what that was. And so, just God is so much a part of everything that I do, and that, I never wanted to be on television. I wanted to write sitcoms.
Really?
I have a funny bone. I'm quite silly.
Okay, all right. So you're going to have to give me a joke before it's all over.
No, I don't have jokes. I don't have jokes, but I love storytelling. And so I wanted to be a sitcom writer. But God had another plan. And so for 18 years, I'm doing something I never planned to do.
Wow.
And so it was about taking that leap of faith and just saying, well, I think God has a plan here for me. So that happened then, and it's happening now, because to walk away from an 28-year career, 17 years in Memphis, it's just, it was quite a leap of faith to just walk away from a 6-figure salary,
Wow. So now, talk about faith and just purpose and plan. Tell me about Util.
All right. Okay. So Util makes shopping less time consuming for busy people. It started in the beginning of the pandemic. My sister Aurora called me from New Rochelle, New York, and she says, all the shelves are empty. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so patient number 1 for the state of New York was in New Rochelle. So it was really big there. I sent her a care package, and then my heart just sunk, because I said, the Mid-South, when you look at the poverty rate in certain areas, this community is not going to be able to handle this. Well, I had felt helpless. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to start a Facebook group, because that is what I have to offer, a platform. There are about 100,000 people that follow my different platforms. So I created this group called Pandemic Product Sightings. So what we would do is we would take a picture of a shelf and say, there's Lysol over here. This is how many bottles.
Oh, wow.
And so it, all of a sudden, it went from 200 people in the first day to like 1,000. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, there are 10,000 people? And then to this day, we're now at 34,000.
Wow.
And we realized there was a moment when remember when the pipes burst, the water pipes burst from the ice storm?
Yeah.
And people were doing this, and we saw this huge spike in engagement. And we thought, this is bigger than a pandemic.
Right.
And so we dug in and realized there was an algorithm in what we had created.
And so that's really taking faith, and then the technical, and then just the current needs. Because I have to be honest, I drink Silk. They have a
almond milk.
They have a vegan almond creamer for coffee, and I've had the hardest time finding it on the shelves. I tell Valerie all the time, the shelves are literally not like they used to be.
Well, before I leave, we have our prototype that's not released to the public, but I'll try to search it for you and see if it's anywhere.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the inside scoop. So the Lord has really kind of helped drive you and to give you purpose and meaning. And I like the fact that you said it was a problem. How could you solve that problem?
Yes. I mean, it was really hard for me to see what people were going through, and then just to imagine people here going through what I thought might be worse. And so, yes, it was definitely, like I said, a leap of faith to just walk away and say, God, I'm going to put this in your hands. I'm going to pray that you will put all the people in place that I need to make this happen, because I know it's not coming. This is coming from you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, how has it been doing this as a Black woman?
Ooh, well, I am a 50-year-old Black woman, and I am not the person you tend to see, oh, she's a tech founder. No. That's so it's.
Now, wait a minute. Did you say 50?
Yes.
Bless your heart, girl. So it is true. Black don't crack.
Thank you. That is kind of you to say. So it is not the norm because usually it's, people, they could be, look at Mark Zuckerberg, he was in college. So this is something that is definitely new and different for the tech industry. I'm not the prototype.
Wow. And one of our staff, or a couple of our staff, was saying, "Hey, you're Util? I use Util."
I loved that. That was great.
Oh my goodness. So along this line, did you meet any obstacles, any discouragement for anyone?
Well, the hardest part, honestly, is when you look at the statistics, it's rare for African Americans to receive funding. This is a $1.8 million project initially, just wow. to create what they call the minimum viable product, the MVP, and that is just with the bare bones of the construction of what we're doing. And so then, raising funds is the thing. So, we're right around, $400,000. We're inching up towards that. And what's really exciting, so funding has been a challenge, but really exciting, and I have not mentioned this, but Epicenter Memphis, they help to incubate tech companies in the area. They're the top. They are the top tier in this area, and they just vetted us. We went through weeks, and actually like 2 years, and then we went through weeks of vetting of all of our documents and everything, and so they just invested in us, and so they now have equity in the company.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So to have them on our cap table will be really good for other investors because they know that if Epicenter vetted us, then we're viable. So
that is fantastic.
It's exciting.
So this is literally the start of a new tech company, and just with just the innovation. My goodness, how did it all come to terms?
Well, basically, it started out where I called my sisters. I'm like, hey guys, so 2 of my co-founders are my sisters. Okay. And they ran the family business in New York. And it involved logistics, inventory, and in the food and beverage industry. So it's, supply chain is a big deal for that. So I had just asked them to help me with the Facebook group because I was like, I can't, there's too much to do. And then as we were working, Ty Standback, she went to Yale. She was in Silicon Valley, and she came back to the area home, and she joined the team. So then we said, okay, this is a tech company, and I envision that I see our headquarters here in the Mid-South. I would like to have young people be able to use it as a place to code, because we're going to need a lot of engineers for what we do. So I just see it as a job-making endeavor.
Wow.
And
everyone, you mentioned algorithms. My goodness, I guess, folks don't realize, but I guess algorithms is the new term for just how everything happens.
It's true. So basically, components come together to create a unique experience. So technology components, what's unique about what we do is that, so you know how everyone's trying to find baby formula. Yeah. And right now in Jackson, Mississippi, everyone's trying to find water there.
Yeah.
So what our algorithm does is it takes not just the search from the internet. You might go on Google and say, hey, where is this? And you look it up. But we add a social component to it. So people, we call it a smart people-powered product finder. Okay. So people are helping people to find the product in addition to that internet help. So it's actually it's not being done. We dubbed it a social search engine. So this is new. It's an innovation, and it's exciting.
Talk about just new ideas, creativity. Would you say that your family with the supply chain? I mean, how does all of that? How do you get to that point? How do you develop this kind of creativity?
Well, that's a good question because, I mentioned that my family was in the food and beverage industry. My dad started the company, it's Consolidated Appliance Services in 1963. And what they do, it's a kitchen repair company. Well, it's, he's, God rest his soul, my father is not with us, but he's with me in my heart. But so this company, he actually patented some, different machines, and during that time when he would work like 7 days a week, and he would wake up at 3 a.m. and get ready, go out, because the kitchens in the city in Manhattan open early, right? So they'd go do the repairs, and then when a part was not available, the job would stop. So supply chain was an issue all the way back when my dad was, going through that. And my sister, Aurora, who did the inventory and logistics, always said, I just wish we had a better way to find these parts. And so this model that we're creating, I believe it's going to translate to several different industries.
I like that.
Yeah. So
that is fantastic. So you've just come from a smart, creative family. Well, in terms of just making that move, because I know that's a big thing as well, to make a move from a stable career. How was all of that?
I just think God put a lot of people around me at that moment to help me make that decision. It's just a series of just incidents happened that just led me to that moment where I said, I'm just going to do this. And, I just remember when I made the decision, I wrote a letter, I'm not going to stay, in news. And then I would bring it to work and it would burn a hole in my bag, and then I'd leave. And then I'd come back the next day. I'm like, oh no, I have to change the date. And then it kept happening. And then finally, I was like, okay, here, I'm going to do this. So it took a lot.
Well, as it relates to wisdom, what wisdom do you have for leaders and other people listening to this podcast?
Well, I believe that God has a plan for us, right? And even you can't get in the way of it. So, as they say, to let God, just open your heart. Yeah. Don't, because it is scary, doing things that you don't know. I mean, very strange. Yesterday I played a news reporter in Young Rock, and it's like I messed up, right? The first I flubbed my lines. Luckily, it was a rehearsal, but I was like, oh my goodness. And, I had to course correct my brain and get myself back, and just say, no, don't let this make you keep flubbing. And so I did that prayer. I reached out to God. I said, please help me here. And so I just think it's a matter of not getting in the way of God's plans for you.
And the old folks used to say, let go and let God have his way. Well, what advice do you give to other people thinking about making some changes? Because in the midst of this pandemic, I think a lot of people, it was the opportunity to say, hey, this is a time to change, whether it was career, education. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I saved money for 9 months. This wasn't something that I just said, I'm walking out, went out. I really made a plan. I
like that.
Yeah. So for 9 months, I was a squirrel, and I just put money away. I didn't spend money on anything, but I'm not a high spender. I don't like shopping. I don't like shopping. So that's probably why Util is so important to me too. But yeah, so it's about planning, really planning it out. So let me just really quickly, for example, we went to Communities Unlimited. They helped us write our business plan. We had to sign up for it. It's free, right? But the Tennessee Small Business Development Center helped us to incubate, our early stages. We also have Epicenter that worked with us, So I used all these resources and made sure that everything was laid out.
I like that.
So it's you have to plan. And even though God gives you a gift or gives you something that you need to do, you still have to plan around it.
The Bible says, Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6 and 7, from the mouth of the Lord comes wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So even as God give us the wisdom to do things, I like what you said, plan, put the details in, and actually been able to tap into some free resources as well. Did you already know about those, or did others tell you about the different resources?
It was a small business, the SBA. I literally went online, and then there was a workshop. I'm like, oh, there's a workshop. So I went in, and then the person speaking was so was just so knowledgeable. I said, "Will you be my advisor?" And so then I had an advisor, and then I just would look. I'm like, I need to do this, but I don't quite have funding for that,
Right.
And so then I would look up. Another thing we did, for example, Start Small, Think Big is a national program, and we got a pro bono patent attorney. So that's the $60,000 job, and this guy is with one of the top firms in the world, and he is writing. He's finalizing our patent and our trademark, everything. We were able to get it done through programs.
I like that. So surrounding yourself with advisors and mentors, because that was one of my next questions. Do you have mentors who give you that wise counsel? But you've met these individuals along the way.
We do have a lot of incredible advisors. One of my sister's friends is one of the founders, for example, of GILT, GILT, and also Zola.com. So we're able to talk with him and say, hey, can you look at this? And so there are some really, really big minds that we are tapping into.
So when you're doing brainstorm sessions, do y'all have a particular model that y'all used in kind of brainstorming?
Well, what's been amazing is that we having a business plan is so important because you create the framework and then you map out your milestones. So we have these milestones, and then when we complete them, we're able to do the check and we have milestones, but then what happens is the world happens, and so then you have to modify and add, and so it's constantly changing. And so that's what's exciting, is that we're able to meet those KPIs and grow.
All right, KPIs. Acronyms are.
I'm so sorry. So basically, when you put a milestone down, it's another word for milestone.
Yeah.
So it's just a goal. A goal. Sorry.
Well, people need to know. I mean, you need to have those key performance indicators that says, okay, we're on track for something.
Yes.
And I like the way that you mentioned about brainstorming, setting those particular milestones, because I think that happens within the church life, because the pandemic has done so much to churches that have really flipped what we do all the way upside down. I think churches will have to start thinking along those business mindset in terms of how do we go from here? How do we set goals? What are the visions? What is it that we are wanting to do?
Like, for instance, for what we're doing, we're opening in phases. We start with the search part of it. Then we're going to add the people, the community, and then we're going to onboard the small businesses. So this is something that not only is going to help retailers and the retail industry, is going to help small businesses to promote what they're selling. So that it's kind of like a foundation for Main Street America.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Making sure that, there is a need that is out there, definitely. And especially with the pandemic and what it has done from everything from manufacturing. Talk about supply. Oh my goodness. And I mean, we think about even farmland, the products. I think a lot of things that we have been so used to going forth, we're going to have to start being out of the box. What was the, oh my goodness, the car industry, they didn't have a certain ship, and that was kind of just causing backups on everything else. So I like this idea. Well, so what is next for you? What do you think, going forth? Where do you see this 5-10 years from now?
Okay, so we start with our beta testers are going to what we call break the technology. So we go in, there are always bugs. You know how you'll get on Facebook and then you're like, wait, this isn't working. Yeah. Well, that's what we do. We break the technology, and we're going to release it by the end of the year, just that first phase, the search, right? And then in the coming years, we're going to unveil the different phases. And then, like I said, I see our headquarters in the Mid-South and Util headquarters. And we're going to give people jobs.
Util, we haven't talked about that.
Yes.
Where did the Util come from, even the name itself?
Well, it's U plus data, location, and engagement.
I like that.
So it's, the data is where are these products in stock right now? Like, I don't care where it's not in stock. You tell me where it's in stock. The location is about it's a hyper local technology. So it's in your community. It can work around the world, but when you put your zip code in and you're looking for that vegan almond milk,
yes.
you put in that and your zip code, and then it shows you on a map around you where is it located.
Wow.
So that's the location, and the engagement is the people telling other people where they're seeing it. So we're covering from all angles.
You know, I'm thinking outside the box even now because we need Util even in the church world.
Yes.
Even as we begin to do ministry to locate where the needs are, the people, and how do we engage it together. So
I'm so glad that you said that, because I really believe that. So we could have called it some type of shopping. I mean, it is a shopping. It helps you with shopping. But we said it's Util is not, we didn't put like you shop.
Right.
Because we believe this translates to so many different things. This is also, so right now it's called business to consumer, meaning it's, businesses we're a business and we're helping consumers. Well, then we're going to see distribution for like manufacturers are going to need it business to business, right? To help. So it would be like I'm Nestle and I'm selling it to a grocery store. So that's business to business. But we also see government, B2G. So there are needs that the government has. They need to source things. So we, and I guess you could say B2C could also be business church, right?
Hey, I mean, because
yes,
what it is,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
definitely if it is in terms of here are the needs,
exactly.
Here's someone being able to say, this is what is happening, because information is of such where everything is at our fingertip.
Right.
The only problem, if you don't know the questions to ask or where to put it, you're still out there kind of lost at a time like this.
#facts.
All right. Well, look, thanks for joining me for the conversation today. Let me know what you think and connect with me on my website and on social media. And be sure to subscribe to my e-newsletter so that you don't miss out on more ways to live your life outside of the box. Stay tuned for more conversations that will inspire you to do the unthinkable.